Sound check. Can everybody hear me loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Hey, Coach Jay. Can hear you loud and clear. How's everybody at the buzzers doing? Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone. Happy holidays to all of our buzzer beaters. Happy holidays to you, Coach. How was your holiday?
It was great. Spent it with my uh, kids and my grandkids,
Nice.
and played a lot of games, a lot of wrestling, and enjoyed it. How about you?
It was good. It was good. Also, we were just talking in the green room here. My niece and nephew they're visiting, waiting to open up some gifts. But I told them we have to get on this call first. So it's not
The
over yet.
Grinch.
Exactly, exactly. It's like Uncle Jay has to be the Grinch for now, but we'll open up gifts as soon as we get out of here. So maybe we get out a little bit early. But let us know in the chat how your holiday was. We know it's going to be pretty light. Coach Paul and I were just talking about, maybe not trading so much. I didn't trade a whole bunch today. So if you guys do have any questions, let us know. We will go through that. We're going to go through the markets like we do with our normal process. But it's kind of feels like we're still on holiday time. I don't know about you, Coach.
We are in a holiday time. Today's action was at least in the equities, was very reminiscent of uninterested parties, people who had a trade. Um, so, which is expected. The big
Right.
move, though, happened when we were asleep on Tuesday when I wasn't involved, but we can go over that.
We will go over
Um,
it. Coach, I want to ask you then, while you were trading on the floor, what was this time like? Kind of similar, people off the floor, maybe taking vacation, not many trades going on.
Very similar. Um,
Okay.
when they say the B team and the interns were in charge, and it would be really slow, a lot of games, a lot of liar's poker.
Okay.
Um, some people would be drinking. But the danger was always something could happen, and it's happened a couple times. And then that's when you get a lack of liquidity because the big players aren't there, and if there's some kind of news that jolts the market, it can get ugly, and you have to be prepared. Um, I was no angel, but I would never be drinking during trading hours.
Not trust any
But
decision I would make after having a couple of drinks.
don't trade drunk.
Yeah.
Um, but most of all, it would be dead in like Christmas Eve for the trading. Uh, at the Board of Trade, at least, they'd bring a Santa Claus, bring your kids. They'd have snacks and a little lunch. It was fun.
s- Very
It
nice.
was very holiday like, but
Yeah.
always
It's,
be prepared because you
you
never
never
know.
know. You never know. Um, Let's get into the markets. We did have some news come out today, like we do every Thursday. We had jobless claims come out. What was expected with the initial jobless claims was 223,000. Actual was 219,000. Coach, we were talking a little bit about this continued jobless claims coming in at 1.91 million when the forecast was 1.88 million. You saw an interesting headline about those. What was that?
It was in Bloomberg,
Okay.
and the headline read U.S. continuing claims rise to highest in more than 3 years. So my take on that is if unemployment is if you're unemployed, it's taking longer to find a job.
Interesting.
Um, that's a sign of weakness. Um, now, is that a trend? What does that mean, and how does that help us trade? We trade in the present is really nothing. Really, that's just the headline. But I found it interesting in the fact that people are, unemployed longer. Is that a function of a weak economy, of technology? I don't know. Um, as a day trader, what does that mean?
It's information.
It's information. Trade your
Information that
plan.
exactly, 100%. We do have some news coming out later tonight. For those of you who will be joining Dakota for slow markets, we got a Japanese unemployment rate and a Tokyo CPI number coming out. So for any of our yen or Nikkei traders, just be aware that there is some news coming out of Asia tonight. Let's get into the charts. Let's get into the charts. There are about 35 different markets that we can trade with Top Step accounts, not just the equities. And today, the equities barely moved. The big percentage movers to the downside, we had micro Bitcoin down 3.75%. Oh, I skipped one. Soybean oil down 0.94%. That was in third place. Micro Bitcoin in second place, 3.76%. And can anybody guess what the biggest percentage mover was to the downside? Did you say nat gas? You were right.
It's it's got a very high probability of being that gas.
I mean, yeah, it's a pretty good batting average for being in that top three. Nat gas, our biggest percentage mover to the downside, 5.51%. I kind of wish I was taking stats on this to see how many days. I might do that for 2025, coach. Just do a running list of all of the markets and see which ones, for the 250 trading days that we have in 2025, how many times a market ends up in the top percentage movers. I'd be curious to know that. Um,
I'd be willing to take a position that nat gas is the number one.
100%. 100%. I would, yep, I'm putting my money. If there was somewhere to put money on that, I would put my money on that gas being number one for sure.
Which brings opportunity.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Speaking of opportunity to the upside, we had cattle, live cattle up 1.47%, soybeans up 1.58%, and soybean meal, our biggest percentage mover to the upside, at 4.31%. To talk about our big four, we had gold up 0.69%, the S&Ps up 0.10%, the Nasdaq up 0.19%, and crude oil down 0.73%. So it looks like if you were trading trends and looking for trends, the opportunity was in the ags. I know we haven't talked about these markets much recently, and a lot of the focus is on the equities. But if you're looking for something that's trending, maybe that might be the opportunity when you hear all of the equities traders saying, "Hey, the markets aren't moving, things are slow. Money's moving somewhere, and right now it looks like it's moving in the ags." But may not be markets that you trade. Let's go to the markets that we do talk about here and look at the Nasdaq. We talked Monday, right? Monday was the last time we talked. I told you guys I had a pretty good trading day on Monday, and then we talked about maybe trading Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve was was really the trade in the equities, coach. What a rally!
It's
Half
the
day.
definition of a Santa Claus rally.
Yeah, seriously. Santa was
And
giving out gifts to buyers on Christmas Eve. Um, pretty much a 1%, 1.25% move to the upside, um, with limited drawdown, which if you're going to trade holiday markets, this is something that I've seen in the past, 12 years of me trading. Sometimes it's quiet, but sometimes quiet means one directional move and not a whole lot of heat. Now, I know I was talking to some traders in Discord Christmas Eve morning, and some of them caught the long trade here. Uh, by the time I looked at it, it was a little bit too late, and I didn't feel like chasing and ruining Christmas. Um, but really, a great move. Really a great move.
great move starting at night. It's our classic move.
100 moving average on the 30. We chopped around for a little bit, but even in this price action to the downside, there wasn't much selling going on,
And
and
VWAP didn't break the range.
never left. Never left. And the one thing I did have as some potential targets, we talked about this FOMC day, right? Where we have the range for FOMC, looking at 50% of that range, which was around 21,850 to hold. Once we got above that, then it's, do we fill the rest of this daily candle that we had last Wednesday on FOMC day? So far, we're closing above 50% of it. We still got a ways to go to fill this range, about a 2% move to the upside. Um, but markets look pretty strong right now.
Well, they like to stocks like to rally.
Yes, they do.
We've gone over that. But today was well, nothing burger. Was I mean, after Christmas Eve action, we're just sitting here. I just don't see why a institution would take some big risk with it just a couple days to go, unless they had to. Um, so today's action was pretty subdued. Though we got a nice break, what, off of Europe.
Yeah, this is
Uh,
Europe Open here. Pretty nice sell off. I know it is a holiday as well. D was talking about Boxing Day, but pretty nice sell off there in Europe. And then, of course, we had the jobless claims number that came out. That's this candle right here. There was still some opportunity, right? Still some opportunity to trade tighter ranges for sure. I think what was the daily range for the day, high to low? We had 250 points where you could find some opportunity there, but it felt like if you didn't find it early, uh, at least for my trading style, there wasn't much left to do. Now, in the middle of the day, we did have a pretty nice range to trade in the Nasdaq. You know, if we want to call that range 2240, 22,040, and the low of the range 21,980. We'll call it decent range to trade here. But at this point, I'm probably locking it up for the day. If I didn't take any trades already, uh, it just feels like again I'm gonna give back my Christmas money, and I don't want to do that. Spend it at Toys R Us.
well, yeah, I was gonna say you want to save up for a PS5.
Right.
Um, that thing's expensive. My grandson got one.
Oh yeah.
Wow, but that's another discussion. I can't play those games anymore. I just get crushed by a 10-year-old. Um, but I was interesting that break in Europe. I think they had was related to the downing of an Azerbaijani plane. I'm sure that created some kind of stir. We forgot about that on the headlines. It seemed to be that would be about the time. Um, Other than that, a sleepy day.
Sleepy day for sure. If I'm looking at the London opening range trade, that was a beautiful trade here, right? 3 a.m. Eastern time. That's London open. 3 minute opening range. That's a beautiful trade there. So again, there is still opportunity out there on the charts. These are some of the you know setups that we talk about day to day. And I never want to be the voice to say, "Hey, don't trade. These are going to be terrible markets," because I don't get to decide that. And you might find a trade setup that presents itself. The one thing I will say is, as it gets later on in the day, if you've made your money, it's probably a good time to just go away. Uh, right. I don't think this is the time for any of us to sit at the desk all day. Um, if you're tuning into Top Step TV and things like that, and you want to watch, you have it on in the background. But if you listen to the conversation there, right, even from all of the guests that are on, uh, not really talking about taking trades, right, talking about what are the plans for going into the new year, how do we set up trades and ideas like that. But a lot of people shutting it down, and that's okay, right? That is okay. Uh, Anything else on the equities, coach?
Nothing that I have to add.
Awesome. So looking at I'll just do a quick scan of all three, just looking at where we are in relation to FOMC day. The Russell, we still got some room up to 50% of FOMC day, which is right around that 2310 area. And remember, sometimes when the NASDAQ and the ES are kind of chopping around, the Russell and the Dow are presenting some opportunities. The Dow kind of using that 50% area as a support already. And I'm looking for all of these markets at some point to, finish the retracement of this FOMC move. It does that mean that that's going to happen? 100% does not. But I'm looking for whichever one, if I'm going to take a trade, whichever one seems to be attempting to fill this imbalance the quickest, and that's the one I'm going to trade. Um, all right, let's look at some other markets here. Let's look at gold, coach.
Oh,
Gold here. Last night's open. What are you seeing here, coach?
looks like it was starting to steer towards the upside. After that, above the 200, we got the 20 over the 200, the 50 over the 200. and the 200 starting to tick up. Um, this looks like the correction is over. I'm getting a little more friendly to it. Looking to buy a dip. Um, looks looks like it made its a bottom, at least here. A little more confident to buy it. Let's look at the daily. Get a little more.
To go there. Here we are.
Yeah.
200 moving average on the
Um,
daily is getting a little bit closer, right? I feel like when we first started talking about this on this sell off, that 200 moving average was at 2,500. Right now it's sitting at 2546, getting a little bit closer to the market. Um, Still feels like a magnet, but again, anything can happen. What are you seeing on this daily, coach?
um, let's see. What we talked about the chop sideways for last month, but it's finding some value balance. We take all of that together. That's just one big profile of balance. It's still to the upside, getting above the 200 on the half hour. I find it friendly. I'd like to see what's the 20-day moving average.
26.33.9 right now.
That was basically the high where we wicked. So we
Sorry,
still
I said that wrong. 2663. 2663.
s- let's keep an eye on that. I think above that, if we close, we could start pumping higher. Ideally, a 20 is going to move over the 50, but urgency. I can't say I see any urgency to buy or sell, but it's floating up, which it seems it would do in a bullish market like we have.
Nice trend today. I know Eddie and Hogue were talking about it earlier as one of the markets that was presenting some opportunity again to that upside, kind of bouncing off the 50-day moving average, 50 moving average on a 30-minute here, trading some decent volume. Um, so maybe continuing to look at gold. Crude oil, Coach Hoop just said it in the chat. Crude is an absolute dog, by the way. Um, Crude is still in a range. Crude is still in a range. We're calling the highs of that range anywhere from 70.50 up to 71. Um, and the lows of the range anywhere from 68 down to 66, we'll call it. We traded up to the high of the range today in crude and sold off. And there's really not much else to say outside of that. It's been doing the same thing for
The 2024.
the entire the entire year, pretty much, right? Again, if you're looking for trends, there are other markets that are doing it. If you're looking for a range bound market, crude's the one, right? And you may be able to swing trade this. And again, anything we talk about here is for educational purposes only, not any trading advice. But up near the highs of the range, putting on a couple micros and swinging it until we get to the low of the range might take 6 days to get there, but it's proven that that's the pattern so far. And patterns are patterns until it breaks. And unless they're this is a very headline driven market. Unless there are some headlines, and hopefully not, right? We pray for peace, and a lot of times the headlines that move crude oil aren't the most peaceful headlines. So we stay in this range, right? We stay in this range until it breaks, and it's been at least 2 months of these prices. So not much else to talk about there. Go ahead, coach.
I have nothing to add. Nothing. I don't trade it anymore. So
Yeah, I don't think most people are, right? We heard Deanna today. I was on with her, and she said she's looking at RBOB, looking at Nat Gas. I mean, and look at the difference in Nat Gas here, right? Biggest percentage mover to the upside or downside most of the days we see it trade. And we've talked about the caution of that percentage move being a gap, right? Where we have this Sunday gap. Great thing about Top Step accounts is we're not holding positions overnight unless you're a live market trader. And I don't know how many of our live traders are trading that gas or wanting to hold positions overnight. So we don't have to worry about these gaps. But um, during the day session, this has been providing some pretty good opportunity. This looks like it happened during the London session where we had last night's 30-minute opening range.
That was last night's. Well, looking back on Sunday nights, we
Yeah,
had that gap up, which was the high of the week. The, never went higher. Um, which was the high of the last, I think, 6 months. Um, so still, it's just giving a lot of good opportunity to trade. Using the first half an hour, it's still we rejected it. By the way, from a fundamental, you don't hear me wax fundamentally. There is plenty of natural gas. There's no shortage of it. No, it's there's plenty of it. Interesting movement though over we've been doing this gap action on Sunday night opens. This one, I look, I opened it. I got I was long. I got flat. I don't want to hold it to a weekend just for this, but very big note there. That was a high of the week. Um, we just put a VWAP on that to measure.
nice. Even when we pop back up
Right.
towards this range, this is, again, last night's open. If you hear kids in the
Boy,
background, my niece and nephew are here.
yeah. Well, we got to hurry up so they can open
Yeah,
present
yeah,
and
they are
stop
they are
calling you
almost ready.
Coach Grinch.
All right.
But interesting, where did that high last night on the opening? Where did it go to? The low of the opening range of the week, soundly rejected, and downward from there.
Really nice
Looks
sell from there.
looks bearish to me.
I agree. I agree. And we're under that 200 moving average now, coach. We have the 20 and the 50 moving below it as well. Um, hmm, maybe a little retest and rejection up here could present an opportunity. But again, got to trade the markets that present themselves to us. But if I'm going to trade, if I'm looking to trade anything that's trending, it might be nat gas. Uh, any
Yeah.
other markets we want to talk about, Coach? I'm not seeing too many questions in the chat. Pretty quiet day again. Understandable coming into the end of the year. Uh, my biggest message for anyone is if you're going to trade, um, don't try to make all of 2024 up in the next week and a half or however many days. We have 5 days left. We have 1, 2, 3 trading days left in 2024. Don't try to make your whole year in the next 3 days, right? Take trades that present themselves to you if you're going to trade, and then maybe get off the charts, do some planning, um, do some review of your year, things like that. But yeah, I'm not looking to make my year in these next 3 days. We got a question from Fat Citizen. Most important question: did you both have a good Christmas? Absolutely did. Absolutely did.
Absolutely here too. Very enjoyable.
Yep.
Still kind of having it. As a matter of fact,
Exactly.
I hear my grandson's playing. I think it's Call of Duty or Fortnite tonight.
Make good use
So,
of that PS5.
oh yeah. So I might have to go join him and play some NBA,
Good stuff.
which
Go ahead,
they'll
coach.
they'll destroy me because
Oh yeah,
I don't know the cheat codes. It's kind of like trading against
market
Citadel.
makers. Yeah,
I
it's
don't
like I
have the
know this
cheat
game, but
codes.
yeah, they
Uh,
got all the answers.
they got all the answers. But anyway, yeah. Thanks for asking. Great
Yeah,
holiday.
seriously. Hopefully, all of our viewers, the ones that are joining us here, thank you for joining. Got 165 of you, and we know that's like 20% of our normal audience, but we get it. Everyone else is probably out enjoying themselves. So let's go do that. I have no other markets that I want to talk about. Coach, anything else on your watch list or anything like that before we get out of here?
No, no, but it's flat. Just staying. I'm not trading much. Also, I've been watching, but there's nothing that stands out. I think tomorrow we'll go over the weekly and maybe start looking into next year. To me, to which might have the biggest opportunity.
some point, and we did this last year. This was Coach Paul's suggestion, just to give you guys something to look forward to for at the buzzer. As we're not going to be talking too much about trades that we've taken because I'm not taking too many trades. But at some point, Coach, let's see how many days we have left. Uh, we have pretty much two at the buzzer segments left before the end of the year. We have tomorrow and the 30th. So maybe on the 30th, we'll do the yearly review of some of these markets, right? We'll see yearly percentages. Coach, you did it last year in Discord, comparing uh, your
Results of the
results
market.
to the yearly candles of the markets that you trade the most. So we'll do that on Monday to kind of wrap up the year. But want to thank everyone for joining. As always, hit that like button before we get out of here. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to bring them to us either tomorrow, Monday, or all through 2025. Coach, you got anything before we go?
Yeah, enjoy. If you're still with family, friends, enjoy. Um, do not get caught into a whirlwind in a market that is thin. Um, preserve, preserve your capital. Um, trade small. Today was a great. I mean, it was a up and down, quick, go, going nowhere, fast day. Much likely that's going to happen tomorrow. Don't blow up.
We do have Dakota doing slow markets tonight. He will be on tonight, and then believe that is it for YouTube. Deanna's off on Fridays, but we will have the daytime session open tomorrow, and of course we have Coach Vince and Coach Ray doing classes in Discord. I believe Coach Hoop is off today as well. So thank you everyone for joining. Hopefully we give you some time back. Go enjoy yourself. Go enjoy some family, and we will talk to you all tomorrow. Have a good one.
All right.